Okay, so you wanted to really step up your pasta game,
Oh,
right? And I
absolutely.
think this recipe is really going to do it. You bring the adventurous spirit
Mm,
because you did choose a recipe called Kürbis pasta with Ziegenkäse
that's right.
from Edeka,
Yeah.
a German grocery store of all things.
Yeah.
And we'll bring the deep dive on why this is so much more than just pumpkin pasta.
Yeah, get ready because this recipe has layers. Like it caught my eye because it's speaking to some really clever flavor combinations. And the techniques it uses are going to teach you a lot about making like amazing pasta at home.
I'm already hungry. Let's break it down. We've got Kürbis pasta, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
But then there's the Ziegenkäse. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's German for goat cheese.
You got it. Ziegenkäse goat cheese. Now you don't see that in pasta every day, and I think that's what makes this recipe so exciting.
I'm with you. I love goat cheese, but I'll admit I haven't tried it with pasta.
Oh, get ready for a treat. Goat cheese has this wonderful tanginess that when paired with something sweet like pumpkin, you said it pumpkin, it creates this incredible balance of flavor. You get that savory depth, but it's not too heavy.
Okay, that already has me convinced. And the fact that this recipe comes from Edeka makes it even more intriguing.
Edeka is like the gold standard of German grocery stores. They
Yeah.
have a real focus on quality ingredients, so you know this recipe is going to be good.
Okay, excellent pedigree then. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the star of the show, the pumpkin. The recipe calls for Hokkaido pumpkins specifically. What's so special about this variety?
Hokkaido pumpkins are the MVPs of pumpkin pasta. What sets them apart is their naturally creamy texture. It's all thanks to their high starch content. And when it comes to blending into sauces, they practically melt in your mouth.
Interesting. So it's not just about the flavor, but the actual texture of the pumpkin that makes it ideal for this dish.
Right.
Okay, so we've got this creamy pumpkin, right? We've got this tangy goat cheese,
Right.
and then they throw in sage.
Yes.
Now that, to me, feels like kind of a wild card.
It's a stroke of genius, actually. Sage has this earthy, slightly bitter quality that might seem unexpected,
Yeah.
but it's precisely what elevates the whole dish. Think about it. You've got the sweetness of the pumpkin, the tang of the goat cheese, and then sage comes in to add this savory depth and complexity.
You know, I'm usually a more is more kind of cook when it comes to flavors.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see the elegance in this more, balanced approach. It's like
Yeah.
you're creating this symphony of taste where each ingredient has its own part to play.
Exactly. And beyond just the flavor profile, there's a reason why sage and pumpkin are such a classic pairing, especially in autumnal dishes. Sage has this warming quality that complements the earthy sweetness of pumpkin. They just belong together, you know?
It's like they were destined to meet in this pasta dish. Speaking of which, let's talk technique. The recipe is very specific about cooking the pasta al dente
Right.
and using pasta water in the sauce.
Okay.
Now, I'll be honest, sometimes I rush those steps,
Sure.
but I have a feeling they're extra important here.
You're absolutely right to zero in on those details. See, cooking pasta al dente, which means it still has a slight bite to it,
Right.
isn't just about texture. It actually allows the pasta to better absorb the sauce, so you get this explosion of flavor in every bite.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And what about the pasta water? Is that just to thin out the sauce, or is there something more magical happening there?
Pasta water is like liquid gold. When you cook pasta, it releases starches into the water. Adding a bit of that starchy water to your sauce helps to create this incredibly silky, emulsified texture. It binds the sauce together and helps it cling to the pasta so you're not left with a watery mess.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. See, this is why I love a good deep dive.
Right.
You're not just giving me a recipe, you're giving me pasta wisdom. Now, another thing that caught my eye, the recipe mentions peeling certain pumpkins, but specifically says that you don't need to peel the Hokkaido.
Right.
Is that just a Hokkaido quirk, or is there a method to this pumpkin peeling madness? It's funny, I came into this thinking, okay, pumpkin pasta sounds delicious, but the fact that the recipe is so specific about which pumpkin to use,
Right.
whether or not to peel it, like it got me thinking maybe I don't know as much about pumpkins as I thought.
And that's the beauty of cooking, right? There's
Right.
always something new to discover. To answer your question, it all comes down to the variety of pumpkin. Hokkaido pumpkins have this wonderful, delicate skin that softens beautifully during cooking.
Oh,
It adds a subtle, earthy note and a nice textural element to the dish.
okay.
Other pumpkins, though, can have thicker, tougher skins that are best removed for a smoother sauce.
So it's not just about looks.
Yeah.
It's about flavor and texture, too. It's all
Mhm.
connected. Which brings me to my next question.
Mhm.
Let's say I'm ready to make this amazing pumpkin pasta,
Yeah.
but I can't find Hokkaido pumpkin anywhere.
Sure.
Can I still make it work?
Absolutely. Don't let the lack of a specific pumpkin variety deter you. Butternut squash would be my top choice. It has a similar sweetness and creamy texture. Sugar pumpkin would also work well. You might need to adjust the cooking time slightly depending on the pumpkin you choose,
Okay.
and you'll most likely need to peel them.
Okay, that's good to know. I love how this recipe is both specific, like with the Hokkaido pumpkin, but also open to adaptation.
Right.
In fact, they even suggest some variations in the recipe itself,
Right.
adding salmon, using different herbs. It's like they're giving us permission to get creative in the kitchen.
And that's what I love about this recipe. It's a celebration of fresh seasonal ingredients. It guides you with specific techniques, but it also encourages you to make it your own.
You know, it's amazing how a seemingly simple pumpkin pasta recipe has taken us on this incredible journey. We've gone from German grocery stores to specific pumpkin varieties, flavor pairings, cooking techniques. I feel like I just got a crash course in culinary school.
That's the power of a deep dive. It's about going beyond the how and really understanding the why behind a recipe. Once you understand the why certain ingredients work together, why certain techniques are used, you become empowered as a home cook. You can adapt recipes with confidence, experiment with flavors, and truly make the kitchen your own.
So true. This has been such a delicious deep dive, and I'm already inspired to get cooking. But before we go, I have to ask, what are some other autumnal ingredients that you think would pair well with this recipe? Give our listener out there something to ponder as they embark on their own pumpkin pasta adventure.
Ooh, that's a great question. For an extra layer of flavor, you could try adding some crispy fried sage leaves as a garnish. Talk about a flavor explosion. Or for a bit of a sweet and savory twist, you could crumble some toasted pecans on top. And if you want to really lean into those fall flavors, a sprinkle of pomegranate seeds would add a lovely pop of color and a tart contrast to the richness of the dish.
Those are amazing ideas. I could already picture how beautiful and delicious that would be. I'm getting hungry all over again. To our listener, thank you so much for bringing us this recipe. We hope this deep dive has given you a whole new appreciation for the art of pumpkin pasta. And remember, the most important ingredient is your own creativity. So get in the kitchen, have fun, and don't be afraid to experiment.